contest juggernaut, Las Vegas Cris in studio. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing okay, but my chair just fell down, and I've got a microphone right in front of my face.
I was going to say, I have much to talk to you about, but there's two things that happened. One, Chris told me the other day, because there was a picture of me and Chrissy Andrews out there, and you said to me, he goes, look, a friend should tell you, I think you gained a lot of weight. You need to lose some weight. And I was mentioning to you, I was like, first of all, thank you for telling me that, but I've already lost 16 pounds. So I got like 24 more to lose. I'm on the way down. You should have seen me 16 pounds ago. So thank you for that anyway.
Yeah, well, you had one of those photos where you look the same size as Chris, and he's lost a lot of weight.
Wow, shot fired at Chris. By the way,
but he's lost a lot of weight. He's looking good.
I just want to say, for all of your contest prowess, and you have won at the Palms, you have won at the Win, 6-figure prizes in places. You've won Last Man Standing, college football stations. You finished 2nd and 5th at Circa last year. La-di-da-di. But then when I'm on my tennis run, every time I gave you a tennis pick, as soon as I'd be down a break, you would be in panic mode. You really shouldn't watch any of these games.
It's tough to watch.
You're just like the rest of them.
Games.
Yeah.
Breaking news, Dallas went up to plus 3.5 briefly at Circa.
So let's start there. First of all, how'd you do week 1?
Oh, you know what? I should have done better, but I did okay. I did really well this weekend betting, and Atlanta really got me.
Atlanta crushed me too.
Got me.
Okay.
I fell for the banana in the tailpipe.
The old 48 hours move. So does that? I'm reading between the lines, Chris. Does that mean you did a 3-2? Is that what happened to you in the contest?
You'd
rather not say. Okay.
Yeah. I just checked if I'm going 5-0 or less than.
Just check. You don't watch any of these games at all, do you?
No. You know what? Believe it or not, I did watch most of the day because things were going okay. So as soon as anything turns around against me, then I hide.
Let me ask you this. How do you winnow down? So here we are headed into week 2, right? You're just like everybody else. We got all the games in front of us. We'll have the contest lines tomorrow. Or is that today? Pardon me, today. And
Tomorrow.
Oh,
for Circa.
Circa. Okay, and then you will begin your process to how you end up with 5. Do you start with throwouts, like in horse racing? Like, well, that horse is throwout. Like, what's your process to get it down to 5? Or are you the guy that you look at it immediately, you're like, those are my 5?
I'm more of an eliminator than an add-oner. And it was funny because I was going to tweet at like 2:40. Okay, it's time to look at what the games are, because I didn't even look until 2:40. And but yeah, I'll eliminate games more readily than just add them.
Can you give a sense of what would be an instant elimination? Like, would a really large point spread automatically disqualify you?
Not necessarily. I used Baltimore in one of the crucial final weeks. Was that the final week or the second to final week last year? I forget, but I laid 13.
Are you game theoring at all from this point in the year, or are you just picking what you think is going to win?
No, I'm just picking what I want to win.
Yeah. Is there a generality of what might be a toss-out, or is it never a general thing? It's always a specific thing to specific matchups and lines?
No, I want to look at each game and reevaluate it. Check it over twice, and because those games that are easy to dismiss are probably easy to dismiss for everybody else. So, I mean, if something instantly pops up at me that looks like a great game that nobody's going to be on, or I could go on the opposite side, well, I want to consider that.
Last thing about contest ATS: how much of what you do at this time of year has to do with line moves and getting the best of the number in a contest? Do you go contrarian to that, or is it just handicapping for you at this point?
Well, I really wish Atlanta had been 3.5 because I would have never used it. But it's all handicapping. I mean, I'm not going to play a dumb number if I have alternatives, but it's all handicapping at this point.
I lied. I have another question. I was talking the other day on the show, and you happened to be listening, and I made this comment that I agree with James Salinas, that multiple entries, and I actually said this about Survivor, which you're in this year, So I'm glad you're in this because you actually said something to me this morning. Because last year you were all giving advice. I'm like, you're not even in it. And this year you're in it, and you're like, man, the temptation. What were your words? The temptation of taking
I forget, but
the obvious pick.
Here's the difference between somebody that's going to win this and somebody that has no hope. The people that have no hope to win this look at those 3 big spreads and think that they have a vacation.
That's right.
Okay, the people that are going to win it look at those 3 games and say, well, that's 3 less games on the board I can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going to be on those.
Like I say from the beginning, the game is misnamed. It shouldn't be called Survivor. It throws people off. It's not about surviving. It's about winning. What about the multiple entries thing, though? You agreed with what I said, because I agreed with Salinas, which is, he won. He, like you, is a very great contest player. He won the Super Contest. He finished 3rd the next year. He finished 26th 2 years after that. And, he always had 1 entry, maybe 2. Don't hold me to 1, but maybe 2. But I think it was definitely not more than 2. And then he found, like, if he did more than that it was just discombobulating to him. And I totally agree with that, even for Survivor. Like, I think if he went 6 entries, as soon as I bought 5 entries in Survivor this year, I hated myself. Because it completely changes the way that I process, almost to the point where those extra entries they're extraneous anyway. I'm going to lose them eventually. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like a spoiled kid. You have extra entries that you don't really, treat as carefully.
Right.
So I would prefer to be limited and forced to really bear down and have no room for error. I felt I had a really tough time deciding what to do with the contest because the William Hill, I feel like a moron for not getting in the William Hill, but I had to look at quality of life. And there's they make you go in and enter in a kiosk, and I don't live anywhere near a place, and it was going to be a nightmare. And I don't care what the overlay is, quality of life wasn't going to be worth the stress involved.
I totally relate, but I am in walking distance of a William Hill, which is why I was like, okay doing it. But I totally get what you're saying. They make you come in. And by the way, some of those shops don't have kiosks.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the desk. And I don't know if you know this, Chris. Not everybody knows what they're doing right off the hand when you go to a desk, right?
They're lucky they make it to work.
Yeah. In some cases, that's no knock. It's just that there's so many things that they do that something like a contest, which wasn't very well publicized, quite frankly, which wasn't very widespread played in the end, thus the overlay. So it makes sense that some ticket writers wouldn't know what you're talking about. So you have to get into that mode too, where you're like, I got to sit through this now.
No, I had people signing up that week that didn't know how to. Oh, you're the first one that signed up.
That's exactly what they said to me.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
So nobody even knew this contest was around. It probably I didn't see the final numbers, but it had to have a $600,000 overlay, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The William Hill College football one? Yeah, I think so.
So I was driving along just feeling humiliated and disappointed in myself because I didn't buy any entries in William Hill, and it's like, God, what an idiot.
But you said it's a quality of life thing, which I want to get into with you after the break because I know you tweeted this out as well. So you say you want to be a pro bettor, and Chris will let us know a little bit more about that momentarily. I think I told this on the air. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But when I signed up at Circa, they have a whole process. They do their thing, and then they call you up. And the gentleman who was doing my final paperwork at Circa, both for Millions and Survivor, didn't let on that he recognized me or watched the show or listened to the show. And then finally at the end, he says to me, he goes, hey, by the way, I love your show. He goes, I'm so glad Parlay's back. Get the band back together. And I said to him, I go, oh, and Todd's going to be on this week. The whole band back together. And he goes, which I thought was awesome. So I can't remember what the gentleman's name was. So forgive me, but I love that. So, is there one? Let me ask you this before we go to break. Is there one game on this week 2 schedule that you've looked at thus far where you're like, I'm absolutely not playing this game?
No, I don't even think about that. I really don't. There's just too many things that can happen between now and Saturday, so why would I?
And you wait till the very last second because of COVID-related stuff these days, right? You would anyway, but particularly.
I would anyway for the contest. That doesn't make a difference. But It was a unusual Saturday, so to speak, for my first attempt in the Super Contest, which made me go there twice in person.
This year, this week, really?
No fun.
Oh, that's a story we have to get into. We'll do that next. But generally, what it's like to be a pro bettor. Chris has some things to say, wants to get off his chest. We will do that next. Lombardi as well on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Friday's episode of the Ron Flatter Racing Pod features VSiN's own Sean King, who's not just a former pro quarterback, but also a longtime horse player. Thoroughbred owner and handicapper Marshall Graham talks about the edges he has gained as a computer bettor. That's a computer bettor. Las Vegas odds maker Paul Zilm handicaps weekend races. Subscribe now at iHeart, Apple, Google, Spotify, or Stitcher, or download it Friday morning at VSiN.com/podcasts. The Ron Flatter Racing Pod, sponsored by First Bet. By the way, you know what else podcast exists in the VSiN network? The Beating the Book podcast, which Brady Cannon in the leadoff spot every year on the Megapod. The Megapod top 20 all-timer this episode in the VSiN world of podcasts. Just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for supporting the Beating the Book podcast all these years. Las Vegas Cris, you've been on it so many times. I appreciate that. So thank you
Fun times.
very much. My Julio Urias commentary earlier resonated with you.
Yeah, that hurts. I mean, I can't believe I have a 100-to-1 ticket on this guy. 17-3, hasn't lost a game in 13 starts.
Yeah,
last I heard.
2.980.
I look at his stats and he's just barely under. He barely has more earned runs and barely has fewer strikeouts. How the hell can he not be even sniffing?
That's what I mean. These markets are so ridiculous. Like it's all like the narrative. It's like, what are you talking? How is he 100-to-1? There's no possible. Not saying he's winning it, but there's no way that reflects reality in any way. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to something right here, Chris. This Buffalo Bills line this week in the National Football League perplexes you. Is that fair?
Yeah, because if you talk to most sharps, they all have the line at 1, 1.5, 2, and it's basically 3.5, 4. And I look at it this way. Buffalo was just at home, laying 6.5 to Pittsburgh. Remember, Pittsburgh was one game lower than Miami. So Miami's, one game better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh beats them on their home field. Buffalo's got to go to Miami. They both played equally tough games. Miami's got the home edge. They've got to go to that heat and humidity where Aaron Rodgers was against the Saints. And how are they only 2.5, 3 points lower than they were at home against Pittsburgh, the worst team, than Miami? It makes no sense.
So what you're saying is you think there might be some value here on the Miami Dolphins.
Well, but, you get so much added value because everybody's, there's no way Buffalo's going 0-2. I mean, Buffalo played well, and Miami versus New England was the one game where the stats didn't match the result. Mm-hmm. Miami had a lot of bad metrics in that game, but, hey, they came away with the win.
Hey, Jeff, mark this down. Las Vegas Cris is going to be taking Miami in the contest. Just mark that down, would you? Okay, thanks. Sorry, Chris. I was just talking to Jeff for a second. All right, so you tweeted this earlier this morning, and you and I have been talking about this for a while. We keep forgetting what it was we wanted to talk about, but it's about folks who romanticize, if that's the correct sort of way to characterize it, they romanticize being a pro bettor. And some people really are like, wow, I would really like to be a professional bettor. I see guys like Las Vegas Cris, and I'm like, that's who I want to be. And to that, you would say what?
Well, I don't know how in the hell I would do it if I had children. I don't know how in the hell I would do it if my wife demanded any attention whatsoever that, I wasn't, like, volunteering. My phone sounds like and looks like a pinball machine so often. It's ridiculous. It's like, it drives other people nuts when I get around them. I have no frickin' time. Now, I know there's people out there that they get to go golfing Brady. And
oh, hey, Brady.
And they somehow have lives, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a choice whether what you want to do and what point of you don't want to put in a full effort, and I understand that, but I have no time. I can't even explain to people how little time I have because it sounds like such BS. It sounds so unbelievable. And I have so many people I'm saying the same story to. I can't even answer text messages.
That's your phone right now, by the way.
For a couple of days. I think I went 6-7 days not even reading certain correspondences from people because I didn't have the time to open it.
You're also super duper generous that you will engage people on all kinds of things, correct? Like you even go above and beyond. Would you acknowledge?
Oh yeah, I'm very approachable and I try to help. You got to pay it forward. I get great satisfaction of helping people and that is the little mini breaks that I do get is communicating with people while I'm scrolling, and I can do the two things at a time. But I can't begin to tell you how you wake up every day and fall farther behind. Like you literally did not. You got a list of stuff you got to do, and you didn't even get to the list. And you added stuff, and you added something for the next day.
Yeah,
and it's horrible, just horrible. My dad, I had to repeat to him 3 times this week. Dad, he keeps on telling me to visit. I go, what part of no time are you not understanding? I don't have the time to drive one way.
Yeah, my dad, who has Parkinson's, even he gets that. He's like, so we'll see you in February? Yes, we'll see you in February. That point, though, about, and I hope my girl is listening to this, because that resonates with me so much. Everything about this. The very first thing you said, we don't make enough of, which is, if you are to do this seriously, if you are to do this with the intention of winning and not just for entertainment, kids are going to be obviously something that you may or may not, have space for in your life, right? Like, because if you have kids, kids are more important than this, is what I'm saying, and so you should probably rethink doing this. And then even if you don't, you have to have the spouse or girlfriend that allows for it. And I'm not even talking about football season. I've made, when we talk golf sometimes, we're talking, the FedEx Cup leaps to mind. I remember a couple years ago when it was all, Brooks Koepka, I'm betting Brooks Koepka in the FedEx Cup. And I came in here the Monday morning after the FedEx Cup, and I said, yeah, well, I got out of it on Rory on Sunday, live betting. Now, when you do a show that's pre-flop content, people don't like to hear that because because not everybody's able to do that. And I said that morning, I'm like, look, if I had a girl that didn't understand, right, that I needed to be there at that moment to make that bet at that exact time, you can't do this successfully. You can't.
And you have to be very cognizant of your own vulnerabilities and weaknesses of agreeing to do stuff. I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't schedule a time. It causes me too much stress to like, if I'm trying to schedule something for the next day, it's always let's check it out tomorrow, because it's too much stress. I start thinking your time is not your own. There's so much crap that pops up. It's ridiculous. The other day, I had landscapers with giant blowers. I had the cable guy, and I had somebody else. They all arrive at the same time. The cable guy asked to borrow my phone and switches it to the hearing disabled setting. And I got to listen and could not get it off. And I was so busy. But stuff like that happens all the time.
The other way to spin this is to tell folks who are in contests, and Chris is participating in those same contests, this is who you're up against. A dude who is devoted to it 24/7. And so that's the racket. And I don't think we make enough of that. And I'm with you. Like, hey, man, I do 2 shows and bet. Like, that's the other thing. My girl's like, oh, so now you're doing your tennis data? You're not doing a show. You're not prepping for a show. Now you're doing your tennis. I mean, it's like at some point, I say to her all the time, I go, what are you worried about? Like, I would offer nothing to any other human being at this point in my life. Nothing. I do nothing for you because this is who I am. And I'm quite comfortable with it, but just to let people know this is what it takes. kind of thing.
You have to have the right mental frame of mind to be able to go to bed. See, I can't. See, if I get up in the middle of the night, I'm up. It's like I've had 2 hours of sleep 2 days in a row. I'm on fumes.
See by the times you text, I'm like, this dude never sleeps.
Yeah. But I can't get to, if I get up, I go to the bathroom, 8 times out of 10, I'm up, even if it's only on 2 hours of sleep, because I got too much crap to do.
We only got a minute left, Chris. Is there another line that looks off to you that you want to share with us? Anything?
You know what? I just don't know. But those Washington Redskins or Washington football team.
Yes, you had
the Hindenburg.
Tell everybody what you told me yesterday. There's a scenario where they could go what, in your opinion?
Oh, it's not impossible. I said that before the season started. If they don't win Thursday, look at their schedule. They could go into the bye win list, and I think their bye is after week 9. I mean,
you said to me they'd be like 1-8 or something.
No, they could.
That.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could. Wouldn't surprise me to see them 1-12, even if they win.
How dare you?
Look at their defense. They gave up 75%.
Well,
third down completions, gave up 425 yards and a time of possession 36-23 or something like that.
So you know what? That's the very first question I'm going to ask Lombardi at the other end of the break, because I do think the Washington defense has been getting a free pass.
It's a joke. Yeah. Everybody keeps on talking about it. They played nobody last year. Yeah. Nobody.
All right. We can still be friends, but I like that. That's exactly what I'm going to ask Lombardi first. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it as always. Always a pleasure. Michael Lombardi next, a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. That question and more